Hello everybody, it is me, Game Penguin 21. And today, oh boy. Well, with the new year's kind of rolling along here, I don't really have any new kind of salt for you, so I have a couple of the things that I've been meaning to get around to for this time. We have in short order a video from suggested by a user back in a couple of months ago that I'm just now getting around to because I had more important things to do. I have a video, I think, on Harmon Smith. And then I'll probably do once he releases a video that I think is worth responding to. But again, Harmon Smith is Harmon Smith, and I've been covering him less and less because he's just kind of easy pickings at this point. I have a Reforged Gaming clip that I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to make a little bit of a longer video around that because it's going to be in my next kind of monthly roundup of salt that I managed to find and mine from Twitter, obviously. But in today's video, I think it's time to take a look back on the last interesting thing to happen within 2024, since we're kind of on that sort of recurve train, or that retro train, I guess. And that is the Steam Awards. Now, the Steam Awards, much like the Game Awards, is an award show that means really very little, but at least with this context, you actually do get more capability, you actually do get more community interest in it, where people will vote in the community, at least for Steam. And this year's awards were no different of creating at least some level of salt. I thought that there would be more salt and more actual bragging, but I found enough to make a video, so here we are. So this is not necessarily us talking about PlayStation fanboys or something. We're actually talking kind of about PC fanboys. At least I think in some of these regards they're PC guys. But majority of these people are just salty at the Steam Awards for one reason or another, and we're going to take a look and laugh at them together. But of course, before we get into that, if you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I would like to hit 1.5k subscribers by the end of the year, hopefully, and maybe get monetized. If that's the case, I love you all. But with all that being said, let's get into it. Starting, of course, off with SteamDB announcing the 2024 winners. To go through the 2024 winners, Black Myth Wukong took about 3 of the different awards on this list, that being Game of the Year, Best Game You Suck At, and Outstanding and Story Rich. Elden Ring took out of Labor of Love. VR Gaming went to Metro. Outstanding Visual Style, Silent Hill 2. Most Innovative Gameplay, Liar's Bar. Best Soundtrack, Red Dead Redemption. Best Game on Steam Deck, which I think is the most ironic thing in the world, being God of War Ragnarok, with Better With Friends also being quite weird, being Helldivers 2, with the sit back and relax being Farming Simulator, which I think is probably the most interesting of all of these, that you can have everything from giant games to weird farming simulator and even indie games. Quite interesting. But a lot of people had things to say on it, so moving on to Anton Hand here, who basically had a problem with the Steam VR Game of the Year, saying the Game Awards are vapid popularity contest, that for a VR game simply boils down to how many non-VR games you have heard of the game. 75% Game W262, recent reviews winning over 1.0 release of a huge game with a 96 and a 781 recent reviews. Makes no sense. Remove this category. Ah, yes, because Metro Awakening, a game that was actually released this year, I think won out over, Blade and Sorcery, which I think is the only one that actually got like a 1.0 release here. Nevertheless, I mean, it is a Metro game. It is a very interesting game, and I'm fairly certain how these award shows, or these awards specifically, work, is that everyone votes onto, like, the games that they've played. Like there's a suggestion of it, and then those things become the finalists or whatnot. I don't know how the voting system works, but it's really funny. New Yandesu here comes back with an interesting clapback of, it got one expansion like every From game ever. The Steam Awards are stupid, man, with talking about Elden Ring from the Labor of Love Award. Ah, yes. Saying that Elden Ring only got one expansion, an expansion that in and of itself created an entirely new game, which had an entirely separate game's content worth of game inside the DLC content, meaning that you actually get 2 games for the price of the games. Like, I mean, how is that? It's clearly not a labor of love, despite the fact that they literally, made every single aspect of both the game and its DLC to the near perfectness that is Elden Ring in it of itself. some people just don't like Elden Ring, and we'll get into that more in a second, but how can you say that it took them, 2 years to make one DLC, and that one DLC contained enough DLC to make an entirely new game? How is that not a labor of love, is my question in that. Key to Aris says the Steam Awards are worse than the Game Awards, talking about how Red Dead Redemption 2 and Black Myth Wukong kind of are not in the correct categories, according to this person, with Red Dead Redemption, the first one, being released technically this year, despite the fact that, it was released on console a long time ago, so it was ported over here. But again, there was other games on there that were also very strangely on that list. Classic coming in here, retweeting Wario64, saying, the Steam Awards is a great example of why the public votes barely mattering in the Game Awards is actually a good thing. Yes, because when the community feels the involvement and actually gets, the community involved into games that actually they like and appreciate and were actually successful, and kind of shows where the market actually wants to go and what games are good versus what games are not good, kind of on a more metric scale. Certainly, voting for games such as Black Myth Wukong for an award that barely makes sense, or not barely makes sense, but barely makes a difference, not sense, but difference in anything, kind of goes to show you. And if you think that this person is a little bit trolly, someone went into the comment section and found this little gem saying, I think y'all misunderstand. My point is the Steam Awards are a popularity contest and don't actually take into account the quality of the games. Sure they do, Jan. Sure they don't, Jan. Also, I'm not upset that my favorite game didn't win. I don't care because the Steam Awards don't matter for this exact reason. Neither does the TGA, but you're still going to be upset about the Steam Awards being worse than the Game Awards, despite the fact that there's actually more community involvement in it, and it actually reflects more of what gamers kind of want in games. I think Thunderdome kind of here puts it in a very, very better way, saying the Game Awards is essentially a circle jerk for gaming journalists. You say the Steam Awards is a popularity contest for gamers. That is essentially what the Game Awards are, a popularity contest for gaming journalists. I'd rather vote on something that I'd rather vote in something than have the gaming journalists push whatever BS that they want to prop up on a pedestal. I can agree with that. Next up here, we have Blonde Pizza with, holy shit, the Steam Awards are dog shit than the TA. Insane. Who votes for this garbage? Helldivers do for winning best multiplayer? Yes. A card game that's been around for decades win innovation. I think that one's about Liar's Bar, which, okay, sure, but it was put in game form, so I guess. I mean, that's probably the only one that I think is a little bit in this category, but even that, it kind of makes sense. Silent Hill 2 winning Best Visual Style. I mean, that's more of a subjective thing. Again, Red Dead 1 winning ODST of the Year. I can't, bros. Oh my god. Games that people actually wanted to see and people actually voted on community-wise ended up winning awards that don't really actually I agree with. Wah. Brother. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. These things winning, these actually in some cases mean less than the TGA because they're just kind of put out there for people to see, being like, hey, this is a fun thing that we do yearly with our community. Do you want to participate? No? Then you don't have to. Oh, well. Next up here, we have Nazu saying, never did I think voting for the Steam Awards would be dumber than people voting in the Game Awards. Well, at least in the Steam Awards, your vote actually counts because it's a pure democracy kind of system. So, I'd say voting in the Game Awards is a little bit stupider. Now, to take a little bit of a break from just kind of the whole Game Awards salt, I wanted to talk about this because this is one that I kind of wanted to just start a very weird but stupid and interesting conversation. So Exil VT, who is a kind of friend of mine, or more of an acquaintance that I had, and still have, I need to talk to him more, but he tweets this screenshot of, okay, so I know Steam discusses or for games full of chaos, but sometimes you just find gold. I think this person deserves a Chud award or something. Found this in the Starfield Steam discussion section. Please share to with me what you find. So the big text on screen that you've probably noticed, been staring at for the past like 2 seconds or minutes or whatever, however long I've been rambling for, says, "Modders, shame on you. You need to fix Starfield. Where are all the fixes?" And someone claps back with the nude and stuff mod comes first. So, priorities. Now, I agree that in some contexts this is a little bit upsetting that there are no real mods for Starfield, which, the last big Bethesda game that got a lot of mods, Fallout 4 and stuff like that, and even Skyrim are still very playable with the mods. But they're like, but here's the thing. Modders don't have to fix shit if they don't want to. In fact, I remember seeing an article where they're like, yeah, we don't want to fix this game because it's too busted to begin with and that the very core is corrupted from everything, so we can't do anything. And also due to the fact that I don't think that the mod tools are even available for Starfield at this point in time, though I could be wildly mistaken as far as I know. At this point, right here, you should not be shaming modders. You should never shame modders, at least in my personal opinion, because they're making the content and stuff for free. So don't, get your panties in a wad because of it. The Red Dragon comes in here with an interesting saying, "New low for Angie Xbox. Disgusting." Say how NBG and fanboys are just mad at Microsoft decided to release their games on PS5 and Switch, with Rishi Sana saying, "Is this the guy who wife had a baby?" Oh no. Insulting a man's thing. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a bad thing. This is a terrible thing. Telling someone that word is very bad. I'm not even going to repeat it. I'm probably even going to censor it as I am talking over this. But here's the deal. I wanted to talk about this because, this is a new low for Angie Xbots. Meanwhile, you have people like Blue Urkel Man over here saying the entirety of someone's phone number. This was a thing I wanted to talk about. They have doxed other people before. Like, there was Pure PlayStation who did it to a random patient for his console enthusiasm, if you remember that story. But this is made by Blue Urkel Man when he replied to Josh the Edits, who Josh Edits is essentially a YouTuber who does his own edited content, but also runs the Oh No It's Alex's stream. And he had this little conversation and ended up essentially getting doxxed because the person looked up not only his phone number, but also his entire pictures of his face and some of his family members' faces. Well done. You really showed him. You really, really showed him. I never understood this. Why is it that apparently everyone else in the PlayStation guys are like, oh yeah, all these people are toxic because they're bringing in these whole things and they're insulting us. Yeah, but you have people in your circle who are doxing random people and people that you disagree with, and even sometimes harassing developers of the games that you say that you enjoy. And we're the bad ones. It's very strange. God Martis Defum is with a more fun one saying, "All Twitter punies talk about is Astrobot, but no one is buying or playing it. True shame." Which I don't say that no one's saying buying or playing it, and obviously this person's doing a little bit of a trolly troll, but I wanted to talk about this because, again, I think someone brought this up in the last video that I did, but this Astrobot was technically speaking the lowest number of games that was bought for the game of the year. I think that if I remember correctly, Black Myth Wukong sold about 12 million copies, with Astrobot only selling about 1.5 million, which still is a very sizable number. I'm fairly certain that they made all their money back because it was a super simple game and definitely very under budget, as far as I could tell. Not to say that that's a bad thing. Coming under budget's a good thing, but more than likely made its money back, but still, very strange. Montanezzo, back onto the train of the Steam Awards here, saying that, oh yeah, these two are empty for me because they are unavailable for my European country. Well done, Sony. Well done. Sony taking another L by the end of the year. It's fantastic. You love to see it sometimes. Yeah, I still don't get why they had to ban a lot of these. And what's weird is that the best game on Steam Deck is God of War Ragnarok, which is unavailable but is still a single-player experience. So, very strange. One of the replies to the earlier SteamDB saying this shit is so ass and Wukong is story rich, people who are just kind of doing the good old trolly troll. Again, I don't know if this is really salty or if they're actually memeing on it, but either way, this is just a funny screenshot to me. I love sharing this screenshot all around. Now moving on to the finals only for a little bit of upsetting news, just a teensy bit, just for my personal sake of, getting my quota of talking about the finals out of the way. The finals lost to Helldivers 2 for the Golden Joystick. They lost to Black Myth Wukong for Best Games You Suck At. Final didn't really receive a single nomination in the Game Awards. What a wild year it's been. Now, I don't think that the finals would have been nominated anyway for the Game Awards because, one, it technically came out a year ago. So it was released at the Game Awards and was released then and there for people to play. It's also like a free-to-play game, which a lot of game journalists don't actually tend to play because they kind of look those games over. Apart from, I guess, Marvel Rivals and maybe Overwatch 2. So I guess there is ones. But this one wasn't like the big-budget game that, like, normally people would go after. And I've come to accept that, but this game has still seen its fair share of successes throughout the year. It's still a banger-ass game. It's had like 4 seasons worth of content and is on its 5th season now. 100% still going to play it, and it is fantastic, and I think that you should all go and play it. Maximum Spider 299 here, 2099 here, saying, bro, I am bored as shit of this game already. People hype this game up crazy when all it is the typical attack, watch pattern, roll, rinse, and repeat gameplay. This person was right for one. Glad I got a physical, paid $9 for it, and I'm going to get $30 back. Boy. I'd just say take the loss and continue to play it, because quite honestly, paying $9 for this game is totally worth it, in my opinion. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, it's just more Dark Souls stuff. It's like, yeah, but From Software's next game isn't coming out until like maybe sometime this year, which based as fuck. But like, this can hold you over if you actually like the gameplay. Oh well, it's just that and it's not as fun. Shut the hell up. Everyone has their own preferences. And if you didn't like the game to begin with, or you didn't watch the gameplay and stuff, whatever, you still spent like $9 on it. And I do kind of wonder if he did get his quote $30 back. Mr. DD coming in with every year the Steam Awards is just Reddit assemble. Because Reddit gamers obviously only use Steam, despite the fact that there is console people on Reddit. And, I don't think everyone on Reddit is a gamer. I think there's like a small subset inside that community. I don't know why. It just kind of makes sense to me. Jam here says gamers were so upset that Wukong didn't win Gotti at the Game Awards, they banded together to force it on the Steam Awards. Yes. Quote, forcing it onto the Steam Awards, despite the fact that this thing sold like 12 million copies in total and was released on both like PC and PlayStation, selling a lot of copies. I mean, what, did they say that the majority was actually on PC? Even if like 50% was on PC, that's still 6 million copies on PC, and they actually enjoyed it. And not only did it get 1 award, but it got 3 awards here. So 3 different groups of people, or probably all the same group of people with quote-unquote bots, decided to force it into the Steam Awards, despite the fact that it was a community effort. So, wonder why you're not taking it seriously. Also, don't take the Steam Awards seriously. But still, this is just funny to talk about. Vika Lash coming in here with a Steam Awards are terrible in their own unique way from the Game Awards. Why is there only one game on the soundtrack nominee list that came out this year without an asterisk? Because the other games came out this year and had banger soundtracks. Like, music doesn't really age too much, and like, Red Dead Redemption won a lot of awards already, and I think also, did it also win Best Soundtrack at some point? Like, why wouldn't it not go for round 2? I don't know. Looking at the actual thing, yeah, Red Dead Redemption does kind of stand out in that regard. Next up, someone retweets the classic tweet that I brought up earlier saying the TGA and the Steam Awards are a great example of why voting for, quote, the best thing doesn't matter because it's all opinion. I agree. That's one of the things that I wanted to bring forth with this. The reason I'm making fun of all these people just yelling and screaming and getting salty over clearly a awards show that means very little to the actual person, and really, like, people will have campaigns for it, but obviously, like, those things aren't necessarily But look, the TGA, the Steam Awards, at the end of the day, don't really mean much. They're just fun little award shows to show off cool other things. But the Steam Awards at least has community involvement. And I think that Romney here kind of puts an interesting spin on a middle ground that could be achieved if the TGA were to go for it. Saying, I saw people saying that the public not having enough influence in the Game Awards is a good thing because of the Steam Awards and players' choice. So here's a simple solution. The media should only have the power to nominate the games, while the votes should be 100% of the public. I think that could be a very good thing at the end of the day, rather than having just one simple Player's Choice Award that's like, oh yeah, a kind of participation trophy for the community. I think that would actually be pretty cool, where they say like, oh yeah, only 10% of the votes are actually counted, where 90% of the votes are coming for other stuff, and all the other people that are on the board of directors is like, brother, seriously? Anyway, at the end of the day, the Steam Awards, the TGA Awards, and all those other award shows are just for people to kind of say that they did a thing really, really well. Same thing with the Guinness Book of World Records and the largest ball of chewing gum, or the largest rubber band ball, or the most fucking coats of paint on a basketball or something. Because those awards are definitely life-changing and will 110% mean that person did a cool thing. By God, people get salty over the randomest things. In any case, I think that'll about do it for this episode of I Rant Into a Microphone overly obsessively about a very random topic for no reason for an exuberant amount of time. If you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form other than like and subscribe, which is always enough, please feel free to hit that stuff down below and follow the descriptions and money if you really care that much. With all that being said, my name is GamePang21, and a peace.
Hey man, can I get a favor?